have no idea.
So I had an appointment to play Skylanders Trap Team. And I was thinking on my way over there, I'm like, okay, I got to get some questions, and I'll ask him this, I'll ask him this. And I got there, and there were like 3 or 4 10-year-olds that were in front of me, and I just basically bowed to them. I'm like, you guys have the floor. I cannot possibly top you with the questions.
Were they journalists? They were 10-year-old journalists?
They were 10-year-old journalists. They all were wearing suits and ties and had the head cap with the little thing on the side. No, they were just grilling the guy. This poor guy, I could tell he lost his voice because he was just talking about Skylanders.
I thought the kids aren't allowed in Comic-Con or something.
Are you kidding? Babies are in Comic-Con.
Okay.
I saw nursing going on in Comic-Con.
Yeah, all right.
It's over. Kids, they're cosplaying, babies at Comic-Con. But yeah, these kids were, who's that? Is that upgrade of that character? I don't like that guy. That guy's stupid. They were all actually low level, and the guy's like, oh, this character has a cooler ability, that you'll see when you level him up. And the kid's like, why isn't he leveled up? It's Comic-Con. Come on. But it seemed pretty fun, and they've introduced something really fun with Skylanders. I've been following kind of like the evolution of Skylanders and all the fun things.
So here's what I know about Skylanders. First, just the dudes. Mm-hmm. Second, giants.
Yep.
Third, Swap Force,
which is the first Skylanders I played,
where you can do a top and a bottom.
Yeah.
And then now we have Trap Team, which is. This is where I think they've lost it a little bit. I think they've erased the appeal of the game because now your characters are inside of a little key. And you can trap bad guys in your key. But to me, that's the opposite of this appeal of, hey, I have a toy and I'm putting the toy in the game. Is no, I have a key and the key puts the toy in the game for me.
Right.
That's what I'm mad about. I'm mad about this game.
I think the difference is they have. So if you get everything in Skylanders is elemental, and actually crystals do come up a lot in the plot of the game throughout the 3 games that they've done up to this point.
Don't defend this.
So I'm doing the best I can, Kyle. Again, Swap Force was the first Skylanders game that I played, and again, this is for kids. I mean, there were not a lot of adults hanging around the booth when I was there, and the ones that were there with their kids.
All right.
And so you get one of these. So you get one of these things per element. So I got like my water crystal. I'm good. So anytime I grab a water boss, he's in this crystal. And I decide like who I want to bring in this crystal. I'm going to a friend's house. It's like, oh, I'll bring Water Splash or whatever these names are. And he's like, that'll be the guy that's assigned to this crystal. So that one crystal you can have this dynamic of being able to play these characters without having to make another figure for every single one of these bad guys. Especially some of the bad guys are like way bigger than a standard Skylander would be. So you'd have to have this massive figure.
But the figure's the whole appeal. I want that.
Again, I think it's a budget thing. I think they're releasing the same amount of Skylanders that they have for every single sequel to date.
Sure. Yep,
plus all of these added figures.
Yep.
So it's kind of rough being like, you didn't do 3 times the figures this time.
Yeah.
I think they were able to like, how can we add the gameplay functionality, put this these extra characters in there, but still have.
You're right. It absolutely actually benefits the game more than anything.
Right.
It's a decision for people.
And they had a little surround sound set up in, and it was slightly adorable whenever they would capture one of these bosses, because they would have the voice like swimming around the surround sound, and you'd hear it like and then it would whoop, and then like the sound effects would like go into the little portal, which looks like a little prison, like a little Alcatraz that you're trapping these guys in, and then they'd be like, you trapped me, like on the inside, and like it just destroyed the kids every time that happened. They were like, do that again, and so. I could see they were definitely playing that up, and like it was a fun effect. I've never seen something like that. It was kind of like when the Wii first came out, and like different games had like the microphone and the Wiimote, and some games did that well.
You're saying there's a bit of magic to this?
A little bit, yeah. It's like, again, from to have one perspective, it's just like, oh god, they're adding this more stuff than I need, more stuff that moms are gonna step on when they're not wearing their slippers.
Yeah.
Just like you're leaving your crystals all over the floor. But at the same time, it's like, oh god, that is adorable. And there were some characters that I'm like, okay, that's just a little badass robot guy, whatever. And then they put one guy on. I can't remember if it was a villain or a figure. His name is Pinata, so Pinata with pain in it.
Sure.
And he walks around. He moves his legs really quickly when he walks around. He's a giant pinata. He looks very much like somebody from Viva Pinata. He has a lollipop that he smacks people with, and he just vomits candy. So he just like opens up his mouth and just blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's not just like an animated move that he does when you click the button. You hold the button and he just is constantly spewing candy out of his mouth. And it was so unlike a lot of the other games that I demoed at the show, because like when I was introduced to Pinata, it was like, oh, then you got Pinata, and then he just barfs, and then you got this guy, and I was like, whoa, get back to Pinata. What was, that you can
they
throw
don't even know
something
what
like
they
that
have.
at. Yeah.
They don't know what they have with Pinata. Pinata could be his whole game. own game by himself. That is
They had
actually a legitimate good idea. Yeah.
The first boss that you capture, his name is Sheep Creep. And he admitted, he's like, this is the first boss that you capture in the game. Super easy boss. It's just to get you, he's on like a little tiny platform in the corner of like one of the maps. But he's there to introduce you to the concept of capturing a sheep, or capturing the bosses, and what it's like to capture a sheep in a
Sheep
crystal,
creep,
because we've always wanted to know. But you could almost see in the sheep's face when he captured him, when they introduced the sheep, that he's like, I know I'm not a big boss, Like, I know, like, he has, like, cannons on him, it's like it's angry-looking sheep.
And he wears,
who,
like, a
fires
lame
rockets.
mask, right?
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not going to speak to the specificity of all
sheep
of the
creep.
designs of these characters. But it definitely did, I don't know, it definitely did play up the attitude of the game. I think it really knows what it is. It's not, Skylanders is not pretending to be this, like, huge, awesome action game. It's just something that you go through. The puzzles are really easy. They want you to swap people out. They want you to, constantly bringing new material in. So obviously, so you'll buy more stuff.
Do they raise the level cap on these too?
I don't know. That's a good question. It's one that I'm surprised, the kids didn't really ask.
I think they always do. That's why I think if I bring in my Gen 1 Spyro.
But obviously
he's
everything
still
works.
fine,
I think
right?
the way it works and the way it's going to work with Infinity is it's backwards compatible. So, any of the old guys will work on the new thing, but none of the new guys will work in any of the old games.
By the way, I think that's like one of the coolest things about these games.
Because everything keeps working.
Yeah. It's part of why like Mass Effect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like your character exists throughout all these stories.
And it's next gen.
Yeah.
It's on Xbox One and PS4, so
Right.
you can see. Hopefully, these new characters look a little bit better.
Yeah.
But it was fun and it was playful, and I'm curious to see. You're going to be reviewing Skylanders. I don't know if I told you this. Kyle.
I won't review anything. Don't ever. Maybe I'll review Skylanders. It's not gonna get a good score.
But it just you're a humorous fella, Kyle.
Yeah.
And do you appreciate humor in games? Do you like wacky games? I mean, games that are exuberant and silly like this. Are there any games similar to that?
Most of the time, it rubs me the wrong way because it's like not funny. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I like silly games, of course.
But this is, it's for kids. It's like the first place you went to was Soda Springs, and they had the soda festival. And there's this big blue blob that keeps stealing their soda, and so you have to like put the poison soda in, and so he'll drink it, and then he shrinks, and then you can suck him up. And
You know what I like about that kind of thing is that it's not like Brutal Legend where it thinks it's legitimately funny. You know what I mean? Like we're doing sad. It's that to me, that delightful little idea is silly in its own way, and then they can just play it out sincerely, and then it can work.
But is it an actually fun game to play is the big question, because I didn't get hands-on with it, so
We'll find out.
we'll find out when we get it. But thank you, Kyle, for sacrificing and coming in and letting me blab about Skylanders.
Can you jump in Skylanders these days? That's the
I
final
believe
question.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I
there's
think they
definitely
added
there's
jumping.
definitely platforms, and yeah, you're jumping over stuff.
That's good.
Yeah, it's a platforming game. So.
Okay. First game you couldn't jump in.
The very first Skylanders?
The very first Skylanders you couldn't jump.
I think they have corrected that.
Good.
And a lot of the new guys look like fun. I'm sure there's like more announcements, more Skylanders, all that stuff coming.
I loved things like this when I was a kid. Like little weird monsters that like Pinata to me is just like I would have drawn that. Do you know what I mean?
And there's so many characters now. My wife does voiceover, and so I was hanging out with a lot of voiceover people at Comic-Con, and like every one of them was a Skylander. You know?
Yeah, I did a Skylander.
Everyone
yeah.
was like, they're just like, oh, did I tell you, I was in, I'm going to be in Trap Team, and somebody else was like, oh yeah, well I was Chill in Giants, and so it's just kind of funny that it's kind of like being an on-screen actor for like NYPD or like like Law and Order. It's like we've all done it.
We've all done
we
a
were all a
Skylander.
Skylander. But yeah, again, the personality really comes through, I think, with all the characters, and hopefully it's fun to play. Hopefully it's fun to run around and smack stuff and play it. We'll see.
Cool.
Thanks, Kyle.
No problem.
This is it, Troll One.
Remember me as a hero!